going on, y'all? It's another episode of Armchair GMs, brought to you by Jocks of All Trades podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Bugman Jay,
And I am Matt, ready
and
to help you get you through your midweek blues.
Yes, sir. Okay. I haven't talked to you in a while, other than the messenger board, But how do you feel about preseason? How do you feel about training camp so far?
I'm happy with what I've been reading.
Mm-hmm.
We have a bunch of QB competitions right now, notably through Carolina, Pittsburgh, and Seattle. That one shocked me when I was reading up on it yesterday. Can't wait to cover that with you guys. Hopefully, with what we're hearing, what we're reading about, it'll help make fantasy season a little more interesting for those that choose to partake in it. So yeah, I can't wait to get into it, man. How about you?
Oh, definitely. Not gonna try not to give too much away in the intro or in our first little bit of conversation. But all in all, I think now is a good time to start seeing potentially after like the first week of practice how things go, what players are getting what reps and where they are, if any injury uplifts, things of that nature, man. It's really interesting time because you really start to see people or kind of get glimpses of potential starters or potential fringe players. And I'm just ready, man. I'm just battling right now.
I say it comes back tomorrow. The Hall of Fame game tomorrow between the Jags and the Raiders. You're gonna end up watching that tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to tune in. I want to kind of see what Trevor Lawrence is going to look like. I know he's not going to play long, but that's going to be a pretty interesting preseason game. That kicks it off, bud. Kicks it off.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, before we get too far, we kind of want to try to get our ads in, and I'm going to take charge of the ads today. Going to give Matt a little break. Let me see if I can get this rolling. All right. First ad we have is from Fresh Cuts. Fresh Cuts is a local barbershop in Marion, Indiana. Contact Caleb Kemper for an appointment through his website at www.freshcutsbarbershop.com. You guys, we say it every time, man. With Fresh Cuts, it's not just a haircut, it's an experience, man. All right. Next up, we have Steve Wood Illustrations. Here for all your art needs from Star Wars to G.I. Joe and beyond. See him for all your nerds in your life who you aren't sure what to get. We talk about this a lot, man. It's hard to shop for us. So sometimes it's good to have a little shoe in. Steve Wood Illustrations, etc. All right. Our friends from Afro Latinos are changing things up. Check out the Culture Corner podcast featuring Abram and Shaylin and hear from them soon as they're currently still under construction. They're trying to get things right, trying to bring you guys some great content and really help you through your day. So we're looking forward to seeing them coming back soon. All right, next up is Rules of the Frame is another French cast specializing in movie reviews of pretty much anything there is. Connor will soon be a guest on our show, Smash Popcorn, and we look forward to collabing with him in the future. Last but surely not least, we have 1,000 Wives of Weird, I'm sorry. I'm stuttering. And it's just that, weird. From reviews of weird movies to criticizing bad movie choices. Brad H. and Billy Martell will keep you entertained and laughing for hours on end. Check them out exclusively on Spotify. All right, and now we are done with the ads. All right. So today, guys, we're really just going to kind of us being stat guys, Matt. we kind of sometimes get caught up in the numbers and not really what's going on the field, as in looking at players and checking out training camp and things of that nature. I know, at least I don't. I don't really start. I didn't used to really start looking until kind of second, third preseason game, and I know that's very late. But anyway, so us as stat guys, we're gonna take a new road today. We're still gonna talk about ADP and draft value, obviously, but we're gonna get some news and notes today because there's been a lot going on in the NFL over the last couple of weeks, particularly over the last maybe 2 weeks. So we want to try to get in as much of the relevant content as far as maybe players on the pup list, news from around the NFL, training camp news, things of that nature, and how this potential news could, this news could potentially affect your draft stock for the players you may want to put on your board. So, without further ado, Matt, I want to push the floor over to you because I know there's something you're itching to talk about right now, and I know it's going to be something I want to hear. So, I
was going to say, first off, before we get into it, let's make the big announcements from this past couple days ago. Mm-hmm. Deebo Samuel finally gets paid.
Yes, there you go. That's a good start.
3-year extensions, or three-year extension for $73.5 million. I'm sure Deebo's a happy man right now.
That's boss money there, right there.
I think they're going to be real happy in San Francisco right now. Entering into training camp and just around the organization in general. But we're not going to stray too far from the NFC West. I want to talk about the Seattle Seahawks. Last week we talked about the retirement of Chris Carson, and we were talking about the potential running back competition between Rashad Penny and Kenneth Walker. But I want to talk about the QB competition between Geno Smith and Drew Lock. As it stands right now, Geno Smith is kind of showing up to this year. He's impressing everyone in that organization. So I want to ask you, Jay, would you trust Geno over Drew Lock? Or what's your take on that?
As we can see from Geno Smith, he was thought to be a round one draft pick when he was coming into the league, and ended up falling to the second round. If I believe I'm correct on that, and he just hasn't really overwhelmed you with the ability to throw the ball deep and also throw it deep effectively, and also he's more of a control the clock, control the field type of quarterback. He's not going to take those big shots. He's going to be very limited in his pass attempts, because he's going to try to establish a balance. And that's something that I think Pete Carroll may want in the offense. Drew Lock's a little bit more volatile. He'll put the ball down the field. He'll stretch the play out because he can move with his feet a little bit, but he's not as accurate as you would like in a quarterback. So right. I could see Drew Lock being the backup and having to do a little bit more to extra to prove his job. But I honestly believe if Seattle wants to win games, they won't play Geno Smith. But nobody believes me. But is Geno Smith even on your where's Geno Smith on your QB rankings? Are you like in a one team league? Are you even one quarterback league? Are you even looking to pick him up even as a backup?
Personally, no, I'm not looking to pick him up. However, if he starts showing up in a few games within the season, if he starts, obviously, I may look into picking him up off the waiver wire. Just something you might want to keep your eye out on. But I think it's too early to tell if he's going to be the full season starter. I know he's getting a lot of first team reps right now. Mm-hmm. But a lot can happen, obviously, between now and the start of the season. But, who knows? If he can keep this up, he may actually get a shot at being a full starter for Seattle. I just don't know if it's the trust that Pete Carroll has in him, or is he just a better QB over Drew Lock?
I think it's more. He's, in my opinion, he's not better, but Geno Smith is a below average quarterback with the ability to control a little bit more what happens with the offense because he's a little bit more deliberate. He's a little bit more assertive in the ways of looking around the field. Does he see all the options out there? No, and that's the main thing that I feel he'll build. If he's a starter, they're going to be very run heavy. If Drew Lock is the starter, they'll be a little bit more pass heavy, a little bit more balanced. You saw how he played with the Broncos. He wasn't shy about taking the shots if players are open. He did it with Jerry Jeudy in his rookie year, and he produced a pretty good season out of him. So when you see that translates to ability to get Tyler Lockett the ball, get DK Metcalf the ball, but he has to control the mental errors. He has to be able to read the defense. That's his limitation. So when you put those two things together, it seemed like it'd be easier if you do like a throwback early 2000s style quarterback, have one on pass downs and one on run down. That way, but that would tank both of their value, and Pete Carroll will never do it. But I think that's the only way they'll effectively get anything out of this offense.
That's fair. That's fair.
Geno Smith last year, and we're going to move on a little bit from this. Geno Smith last year had 5 touchdowns, 702 passing yards, and a 57.1% of deep ball completions. So I don't know. It's a little bit left to be desired with him in my eyes, as far as his abilities. So I just think it'd just be a very limited offense. But I want to get your take on. I'm going to go to the NFC South, and we're going to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a little bit. I don't want to get too deep into it, but the most glaring issue is something I saw today. Well, I've been seeing it for the last couple of weeks about what their offensive line could be, how they lost both their guards to free agency and retirement, and then we get the news that Ryan Jensen went down.
Yeah.
The knee injury, and he's out for the year. And so that really just becomes a glaring problem in your offense. How do you think this is going to affect Leonard Fournette's stock right now?
Leonard Fournette, I think it's going to affect him pretty well. I don't want to say there's going to be a significant, factor in it, but it will, it won't help his case any. Obviously, it can't be as bad as when he was in Jacksonville. But
okay,
no, I think it'll affect him a little bit. The one I'm really concerned about is Tampa Tom Terrific, Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
But I was watching an interview that you sent me from training camp,
Mm-hmm.
and he just, in Tom Brady fashion, he's all sorts of just confident about it. He's like, hey, you know what? We'll just take it one day at a time. There's a lot of time between now and the beginning of the season. That's why there's training camp. To build up players who don't necessarily aren't going to be your long-term starters, but for your backups, it's definitely a way to build up their confidence, build up their reps, so on and so forth, and make them better players overall. So Leonard Fournette, I see it affecting his productivity a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
As far as Tom Brady, I could see him rising to the occasion at 45 years young and just playing lights out like he always has.
Well, I hate to play the devil's advocate a little bit, but I love it. I'm going to push back on that a little bit because I don't think that it's just okay. Individually, I see this as a problem for both the pass offense and the run because Tom Brady is a pocket passer. He works best in the pocket. He works best like any other quarterback in a clean pocket. And a lot of his stability in the pocket, really all of it, outside of the right tackle and left tackle, is gone. And Leonard Fournette has dropped in the rankings for running backs because I just see a lot of difficulty running with rookies and journeymen, and that just spells disaster. You know, you remember his years when he was playing with the bad offensive lines in Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes a toll on you. There's only a very few who are pure enough, in my eyes, to take one of the worst offensive lines and still make gold out of it. You know, Adrian Peterson being the top of that list. You know, so it's no shade throwing, by the way. But anyway, so
I got you.
It becomes a thing if I'm looking on my board right now and I'm picking up Javonte Williams, Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones, and Nick Chubb are all ahead of him, and he's at number 14 right now on the fantasy football calculator, and 26 overall. So he's not even a first round option. He was up as far as I saw, sometimes 7 before the news. So it's definitely going to be an impact. Moving along, they also did pick up Julio Jones, and Tom Brady talked about having Julio Jones, talked about building continuity with them. Do you feel as if Julio Jones will have any sort of fantasy value or fantasy relevance as maybe a fringe wide receiver 3 fringe flex? I'm struggling with the word fringe today.
Oh, you're good. Early in this season, I would say yes, because I mean Tampa Bay, they have a lot of offensive weapons: Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Russell Gage, Cameron Brate. Just picked up Kyle Rudolph as well.
Yes.
But, you know, I know Kyle Rudolph isn't going to do a whole lot this stage in his career, but he's still, you know, a decent red zone target.
He's a decent target who's going to get red zone targets. He's going to get seam targets. He's going to get those 50-50 balls up the middle. And I feel like Tom Brady will trust him to do that. He's no Gronkowski, but he'll get you what you need.
But as far as Julio Jones goes, I think early in the season he will be, you know, someone you want as a flex. I think he's someone that Tom Brady will kind of rely on a little bit until Chris Godwin gets back and, you know, the wheels start turning for him. Mm-hmm. Then you might see a drop off in production for Julio. Mm-hmm. I hope I'm wrong because, I mean, I know he played for Atlanta for a lot of years. He was one of my favorite players, and I don't even root for Atlanta. He was a receiver that made an impact on the game. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I kind of want to see him. Obviously, he's not going to be 2017 Julio Jones. I mean, no one's going to replicate that. However, I would like to see him back on the field, play for a good quarterback like Tom Brady. Sorry, Ryan Tannehill. And, you know, salvage his career by kind of just, you know, forgetting what happened last year.
Yeah, just tagging on that leadership quality and just continue to drive on that. But just to give you an ADP look, you know, that's what we do here. Everything is relevant to fantasy football here right now. So with Fantasy Football Calculator, he is currently at 59. He is above Tim Patrick, Jacoby Myers, DJ Chark, and Garrett Wilson. But now let's see who's ahead of him. Who's ahead of him? All right, we have Mecole Hardman, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Calvin Ridley, Sky Moore, and Tyler Boyd. So, in the eyes consensus, it doesn't seem to figure him to be a big part of their offense. And Russell Gage is up at number 42 in consensus. So Russell Gage is deemed to is probably going to have a very big role in the first 2 weeks. I think it calculates a lot into his health because he hasn't been able to maintain being healthy for over a course of a season, maybe since probably 2015. And even then, he probably missed a couple games, but the injury bug has gotten to him a little bit. And I think, that he can contribute if they can control his workload. He's not going to be an every down wide receiver anymore. Probably not. There's just too many different weapons out there. So he's not going to be needed every play. So he's going to have to relish in that role and just become a part of it and just turn into a leader.
Let's stay in the NFC South just for a moment, though. QB competition in Carolina. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
So, as it stands right now, Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold both are kind of splitting reps with the first team on a day-to-day basis. Like, I think it was Monday, Baker ran with the second offense, and Sam Darnold ran with the first, and then yesterday, vice versa. So, as it stands right now, they're kind of dead even, in terms of who's going to be the starter come week one. Now, Jay, if you had to choose today who to start for the Carolina Panthers at quarterback, would you choose Baker or would you choose Sam Darnold?
I choose Baker. I choose Baker all day long.
See, I'm
no
right there
slight
with you.
against Sam Darnold. No slight against Sam Darnold at all, but there are a lot of what I would call red flags in the way he plays football. And the interception bug is a thing he just can't seem to shake. Consistency is another thing he can't seem to shake. So I would take Baker. Baker's a little bit more decisive on the field. Baker's a little bit more assertive in ways when he needs to. He doesn't throw nearly as many interceptions as Sam Darnold does. He's just never been able to put all the pieces together. I don't know if Carolina's the team that's going to really be the team that helps him put all the pieces together because DJ Moore is very good. But speaking of which, how do you feel about his ADP looking to, or his potential value or losing a value at whoever wins this quarterback job? How do you feel?
About DJ Moore's?
Mm-hmm.
Where's it at right now? Because that's actually, I was looking at Sam Darnold's ADP right now, which right now Sam Darnold's ADP is at 362. He's the 23rd, no, I'm sorry, number 39 quarterback.
Fantasy calculator has Sam Darnold consensus down at 66, the 66th quarterback going off the board. Has Josh Rosen ahead of him, Josh Allen, Tyler Heineke, Nick Mullins, Taysom Hill, all backups. And they have Baker Mayfield at 25, at the 25th quarterback, QB 25.
See, I think DJ Moore's numbers will diminish a little bit anyway, just because of, we don't know who the quarterback is going to be. I mean, let's call a spade here, all right? Baker and Darnold, they're not significant talents at the QB position. Now, I would take Baker Mayfield over Sam Darnold any day of the week, but it's not like it's not like either one of them are a top 15 quarterback or, hell, not even really a top 20 quarterback. But I think the reason why DJ Moore's numbers will drop a little bit is maybe because of Robbie Anderson. I mean, Robbie Anderson has kind of made it known, or made it somewhat known that he's ready to compete this year. Like, he wants to be wide receiver one. I don't think it'll happen, but you
don't think it will happen?
I don't think so. I mean, I would rather take DJ Moore over Robbie Anderson So I mean,
Yeah.
I could see why Robbie Anderson wants to be wide receiver one. I just don't think he's a better wide receiver than what DJ Moore is.
I give you that.
So, I mean, maybe that's kind of what will bring down DJ Moore's stats down a little bit, but not significantly. Obviously, the main factor in all of this is what kind of Christian McCaffrey are we going to get this year? Is he actually going to play this year, or is he going to go down with yet another injury?
Yet another.
If Christian McCaffrey can stay healthy, I see DJ Moore's numbers being somewhat close to prediction. But if he goes down, and then they're having to rely on whichever quarterback starts for Carolina, factor it into what Robbie Anderson is going to do. I think that's why you would see DJ Moore's numbers drop a little bit.
Okay, now I'm gonna have to once again. I'm gonna have to bite back a little bit on this because
fine.
I actually do believe in Baker Mayfield. I just didn't believe in the culture in Cleveland. I still don't.
No.
I feel like from ownership down, there was just too much talent for them not to produce. Did a lot of that fall on Baker Mayfield? Yes, but did Cleveland really give him an opportunity to really pursue anything? No.
Mm-hmm.
It was always an incomplete puzzle. Their defense has always been very good, but their offense just couldn't tread water. And I don't feel like Carolina's any better. I'm not saying that, but I feel like stepping away from this environment, stepping away from that toxic environment and getting a fresh start. Granted, Baker Mayfield's only 27 years old on a in his prove it year. So he's trying to improve his stock. He's probably not trying to stay in Carolina, but he needs to work where he's at. I think he's going to hunker down and possibly be a top 15, maybe even top 12 quarterback this year because he does have DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson and Christian McCaffrey if he stays healthy about 14 games. If their offensive line really starts to show a little bit more improvement than they did last year, they do have a very good defense. But they are also in one of the toughest divisions in the NFC. So it's going to be hard fought, but not banking on them being a great team this year. But I do think you're going to see a lot of improvement across the board. All right. Before we get too far ahead, the biggest news, even though it's something that's really on a touchy subject, I think we really have to face and just address this. Deshaun Watson news, man. It's just a debacle. It's just the whole thing. It's just like the world doesn't want to let this situation die. They just want to keep pouring on about it. So we're going to just address it today. He got a 6-game suspension for conduct that was detrimental to the NFL. And by that, I mean he was charged. Well, you can't say charged because he was never formally charged with the crime. He was sued by 24 women for sexual assault and harassment, and he was received a 6-game suspension. So, 21 of the 24 cases have been settled out of court. They are just basically money situations right now. So, initially, it was reported by the NFLPA, which is the Players Association for the NFL, that he would not appeal the sentence for Ms. Sue Robinson, the former judge that presided over the case. And they said that they would not pursue, by they, I mean the league, the PA, and Deshaun appeal the sentence. The sentence was handed down the next day. And now we're looking at news saying that he is filing an appeal, and they moved the deadline for him to file an appeal. So, outside of personal feelings, the relevance of this in fantasy, obviously, it's a very touchy subject. Players are really starting to put out the scale of how this is when it comes according on to other suspensions, such as the suspension of notably Calvin Ridley for betting on the Falcons to win games, even when he wasn't playing. He got suspended for indefinitely. Well, he actually got suspended for indefinitely, and he has to reapply after a year. Or we saw the instance of the Seattle quarterback wide receiver that kept getting suspended from the league for smoking weed.
Josh Gordon.
Yeah, Josh Gordon, and he gets the same 6-game suspension that DeAndre Hopkins got for PEDs. It's kind of put the league kind of in a situation or a bind where you make decisions, you allow others to make decisions for you, and we just have to accept the decision that you guys made. But this just has to create this, like I was talking about before, the toxic situation in Cleveland. That just killer instinct to do whatever it takes to win, but you just imploded. And I can't look at this offense and say, hey, they do have an elite quarterback who's going to be suspended for 6 games. Amari Cooper's already had an ankle injury. So that's your number 1 target there, already off the board. There couldn't be another wide receiver on that team that you feel comfortable with even putting as a flex. Unbelievable. So I just feel like, but what also without Deshaun Watson, with Jacoby Brissett under center, it's going to be a lot more opportunities to run the ball for Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. So their draft stock may possibly rise out of this. I really do think it's going to be uptick in that. But kind of talked over it a bit, but what's your input on the situation?
I'm going to talk fantasy, and then I'm going to get on my soapbox a little bit about the whole Deshaun Watson thing. Okay. As far as fantasy goes, with Amari Cooper having that ankle injury, there's no doubt it's going to hurt his ADP a little bit.
Yes.
So obviously, depending on how long he's out for, this ankle injury, I mean, it'll obviously impact, possible chemistry with Jacoby Brissett. I think you'll see a lot of production out of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt both. As far as regular season goes,
yes, definitely.
Obviously, like you said, their draft stock is going to go up a little bit as far as ADP. We'll probably touch on that next week because I don't know I don't know if it's gone up any, unless you can pull it up real quick.
Yeah,
I'm going to get on my soapbox just real quick about the whole Deshaun Watson thing.
Mm-hmm.
6 games is a joke. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I mean, I know it's like being a dead horse at this point. Everyone has raised hell about it, but it is ridiculous. In my opinion, okay, sure, he wasn't found guilty of anything. It's hard to prove anything in a massage room. I get that. But you can't sit there and tell me that all 24 of these women conspire together to blame one QB over the same stuff that was happening. There's no way that they just thought, hey, here's a payday. Let's do this. No, that didn't happen. We know what happened. What happened.
It's too radical of a situation. It's too many people. It's like the, not to stray too far away, but it's like the Bill Cosby thing. If you see something, one person says something, it's okay. But if people continue to say the same thing, popping out of the woodwork, coming from everywhere, maybe there's a little bit to it. Maybe there's just a little bit to this. So I can understand. Like I can't empathize nor sympathize with the situation because you have to make atonement for the things that you do wrong. That's the way of life. And the punishment has to fit the bill. There's like I said, there's no grand scheme. The judge herself made the ruling, but who knows what all goes on behind closed doors. We're only spectators to what they provide for us. You know what I mean? So there's a lot We don't know. But I can just say this. I just wish the situation would just go away. He would just sit down and take his lickings. They're not going to reverse it. The only thing you're going to accomplish is possibly playing in the preseason. Just take your lickings, sit on the sidelines, or stay at home and think about the decisions that you make, and hopefully you become a better person from it. Because that's what the league is proposing, give you the opportunity to do. He needs to take advantage of it. He needs to put whatever mental things he has out on the table and return to doing the thing that you're being paid to do and stray away from the stuff that's going to get you locked up, man. It's like, I don't get it. It's like so many people, like people they get away with things of this nature because of the high profile, because who they are. But one day, you can only be so powerful before things just turn on you. And I don't like it, but we have to be the people that forgive even people like that. So you just have to look at it from a fantasy point of view and just keep moving. Like I'm not picking him up. It's not even because of the scandal. It's just because there are just so many quarterbacks in my mind that will fit the bill better than him in that position. So, but the ADP definitely does go up for them when he does return, so that is also something we will evaluate as the suspension goes through. He may win his appeal. Who knows? So we're just going to keep eyes out on that, and we're going to move forward. Now, this was something I heard just a little while ago. Check Twitter, and I also have some verified information about tampering in Miami.
I was hoping we would get to that, actually.
All right. Well, if you have something in mind, I can let you take the floor on this.
So, the only thing I really have in my notes, I mean, everyone kind of knows the same story right now. Miami was caught, with tampering when Tom Brady was with the New England Patriots back in 2019.
Yes.
And then again this past season in 2021. And they were also known to talk with Sean Payton's agents to potentially become the next coach.
Mm-hmm.
NFL came out, said, it has to do with, the integrity of the game, or affecting the integrity of the game, which I get entirely. Their owner, Stephen Ross, was suspended through October 17th, 6 games as well, and fined $1.5 million.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
He got fined in the millions.
Yeah, he did. There was another fine. I don't have that information on me right now. I know it was for $500,000 as well. I just forget who it was. I want to say it was their vice president of operations. Maybe I don't know exactly on that, but tampering. Yeah, touchy subject in any sport. What's your take on this? What's your take on this with Miami doing this?
It's one of those things where you try to get an edge. You try to rebuild your brand. They're trying to rebuild their market status. They really wanted Tom Brady, and they were just trying to do whatever they could to try to get him. And it's just ridiculous but it's so much more of that because as I was hearing about it, it's more uncontrollable than you think. There's a lot more tampering going on, and after a while, this was just a small portion because Goodell's going to have a talk with everyone in Minnesota about their guidelines on tampering and things of that nature, because they're going to probably going to lay the smackdown on the next person that he catches tampering. Because this all spawned from an investigation because of Brian Flores about them attempting to tank. So the only reason Roger Goodell knew about this is because they're already being investigated for potential tanking. So imagine how much other stuff goes on in other organizations that they have no privy to because they're not investigating them at the moment. They need more resources. They need to gain more structure like the NBA. The NBA is cracked down on it. In baseball, they're on it. You know what I mean? Because they have a system. that protects it. And the NFL has never gotten that far where they need it. But I really feel like they do now because there's social media. There's different things in which ways people can get connected. And I remember the most notable existence of tampering is when uh, Chris Paul tried to go to the Lakers, and they found out that the deal it was tampering. So they vetoed the deal, and that's why he played. That's why he went to the Clippers. So it was one of those things, and they need a system to help protect themselves and protect the integrity of the game. Because if not, players will just try to link up and play with one another and try to create powerhouses, and the owners are trying to get what they want, selling out tickets so they can make money. But yeah, we all have to do it in the right way, or the smaller markets are always going to lose.
Oh
And
yeah.
then, and that hurts. That hurts the bottom line. And not to get too long on it, but that's one of those things that is just, it's hard to predict how it's going to go. But it's going to, I believe the next person that gets caught is really going to feel the wrath of Goodell out in their pockets and probably in their draft capital as well.
I was going to say, I forgot to add to that. They lose their first round pick of the 2023 draft and their third pick of the 2024 draft.
Oh, so they did lose a draft pick.
Yep, they
Oh,
lost
they lost
two over the next 2 years.
There you go. Now
So
that started.
If there wasn't a if there wasn't a standard punishment for tampering, there is now.
Definitely, there's a standard now.
Now, the bright side out of Miami, though, I'm going to touch on this briefly. Tua's accuracy, I guess, has been a highlight throughout training camp.
Yes.
So let me ask you, Jay, was Tyreek blowing smoke, or can Tua be a legit top QB this year?
I think Tua has the ability. He's one of the few quarterbacks in history to be a left-handed quarterback, so he has a little bit unorthodox style to his play. He looks pretty good. I think this is her second day of padded practice, so he looks good going through his progressions. He's getting a lot of passes out. They're splitting reps with the running backs right now, so he's getting a lot of exposure with different players, and I really feel like he's throwing dimes. He's going to really open some eyes this year, and I'm saying this right here today. Mark this episode 19.
Ooh, what we got?
Miami is going to win their division this year.
I could see it. I could see
it. If he continues to play, if we see some good in him in preseason, and they get some momentum, let me look at their schedule right now. At first and foremost, let me look at Tua's rankings right now. Let me see where he's ranking among quarterbacks. As we look here, Tua is QB 17 right now. That's all right.
Yeah.
And so now it's not bad at all.
Do you think it goes up between now and by the time training camp ends?
If he continues to progress, yes. It's going to take a leap. Now, once we get to their regular season, as I'm taking a look right here, they start off against their rivals, the Patriots, at home. Now, the one tricky thing about this is no matter how good or how bad either one of these teams are, it's always a good game. Miami, no matter how bad they are, can find a way to beat the Patriots. It's happened a lot. So starting out with the Patriots, the Ravens, the Bills, the Bengals, and then they get a gimme maybe, possibly with the Jets and the Vikings. So their first couple of weeks is going to really be the make or break it for Tua. He's going to really have to show something. He's going to have to take it to the next level. And, Do we see that third year leap? Do we see
I
the
do.
third year?
I see it this year.
All right. I don't know if this is necessarily newsworthy, but Aaron Rodgers is really talking up their fourth round draft pick, Romeo Dobbs. And he came out to say today Romeo Dobbs makes a wow play every day. Now,
Saw that.
does that feel a little bit like just quarterback smoke, or do you think there's anything to that? Because Christian Watson right now, I think he may be on the pup list, or he may be injured because he's not practicing.
Yeah.
So it's more of Romeo Dobbs just taking that opportunity and getting those reps. But how do you feel? Do you feel it's a little bit of smoke or a little bit of hype?
I haven't really watched too many highlights from the Packers organization training camps, but I don't see it as smoke because, Tom Brady – I'm sorry, I'm getting my quarterbacks confused there. Aaron Rodgers, he's been known to just kind of just say whatever's on his mind. Whether you hate it, whether you like it, he's blunt and to the point. So if he says that this guy is doing wonderful things and blah, 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 there's got to be some truth to it. Especially since, in years past, he's come out publicly and said, hey, I need some offensive weapons, or this organization's not helping me the way that they need to. He's been blunt to the point over numerous things. So I think there is some truth to it. We'll find out once, not training camp, as the preseason comes along and games get played, so on and so forth, as to see what quarterback is going to do what. But I don't know, man. I think it's too early to tell if he's going to be a once-in-a-generation talent, obviously. But I do feel like there's some truth to what Aaron Rodgers is saying.
So not trying to take anything away or trying to build too much out of nothing. So I'm not saying that I'd be willing to pick him up right now, but I could see a world in where he could become flex relevant, maybe wide receiver 3 relevant, and because the thing with Aaron Rodgers, he loves secure hands. He loves giving a timeshare up to someone who can produce when he gives him the ball. So that's the first step. He's building a rapport with him right now because obviously, like I said earlier, Christian Watson is hurt, so not on the field. So he's getting the opportunity to get those reps. The more familiar he gets with Aaron Rodgers, the more Aaron Rodgers gets familiar with him, the more likely he'll have an opportunity to carve himself a position in a wide receiver room that is pretty much a whole bunch of question marks. Sammy Watkins isn't practicing. Christian Watson isn't practicing. So, only thing out there is Alan Lazard and Romeo Dobbs, and they're going to get it done. I believe that there could be a potentially 1-2 punch there. Don't hold me to it if it doesn't happen, but I'm saying there's an opportunity because if he can do it on the field, he can help get himself a pretty decent timeshare.
So let's switch gears for a moment. We're talking about Aaron Rodgers and his shiny new toy. Let's open up a flesh wound here. So reports out of the Giants organization, there are woes over there. Apparently, there's some chemistry issues between Danny Dimes and Kenny G.
Mm-hmm.
Shocker. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think Daboll's offense will kind of help those two click, between now and week 1? or does the chemistry issues, go much further than that?
Me being completely honest, I don't believe in any one of their skill sets, either one of them. I don't see Kenny Galladay as a reliable target or healthy enough to stay on the field. Really, all of the wide receivers in their wide receiver room have injury question marks. So, but Kenny Galladay just showed me last season how you can't really rely on him in the pinch. You can't rely on him, and Daniel Jones just doesn't put up enough points for me. He's got to take a leap. He's got to go through leaps and bounds, because if I don't start to hear chatter about, I've been hearing chatter about him and Kadarius Toney showing a rapport, and how Kadarius Toney is the best wide receiver on the field. That can't spell good for Kenny Galladay at all. And if they're having chemistry issues, that means his timeshare is probably going to take a hit. Because if Shepard and the other guy can stay healthy and Kadarius Toney can be Kadarius Toney, the Kadarius Toney we saw in Florida, then maybe they have a shot at maybe trying to get rid of Kenny Galladay, because he's pretty low on my board. He's very low.
After last year, me picking him up and having those expectations,
yes,
he's not even on my board this year. It's like, nope, I'm not touching that.
He fooled me, man. He's another one of those guys that fooled me. I think Christian Kirk is going to be this year's Kenny Galladay, because they'll just fool you with all that potential and just not be able to put it together.
Yeah,
and that just pisses me off. You show me something and then you just take it away. Like, who does that? Like, you just show me all
this. Does apparently,
and that's why he's not on my board. Switching over, we're going to kind of wrap this up a little bit, but switching over a little bit, let's talk a few minutes about the Detroit Lions. Are the Detroit Lions on your radar offensively? Will they be on your radar offensively this year, or do you think there are any pieces of that offense that you might want?
Well,
I may just say the defense might be something I might pick up.
The defense probably. Amon-Ra St. Brown probably as well, especially since they just lost a wide receiver today. Well, I don't want to say lost. Someone was injured today.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Couldn't remember what his name was. Anywho, yeah, I think if anyone, I would almost consider taking Amon-Ra St. Brown, especially since, he did kind of have a breakout year last year, just kind of came out of nowhere.
Yes.
If he and Jared Goff both can build that chemistry, I would consider him.
Oh my goodness. Well, looking at this right now, Kenny Galladay is the 65th wide receiver, and he's stuck right next to Jameson Williams, another wide receiver from Detroit I want to talk about. Do you see any fantasy potential possibly in Amon-Ra St. Brown? Okay. Do you see any potential in Jameson Williams?
Once he's healthy, yeah, I do. Once he gets off the PUP list, I think you'll see. I think he does have some fantasy value, especially on your 50-50 balls, because he is a speedster. So I would keep an eye on him. I obviously wouldn't pick him up unless he somehow falls to like the very last pick, like say, someone in your, like everyone in your league completely forgets about him. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and pick him up. But
his ADP is 14.08, which indicates he's the 8th pick of the 14th round in 164th overall. I think at 164th overall, that's worth putting a stash on, because if he's on the PUP list to start the season, you can put him on your IR. You have those slots. That's a guy with immediate upside. So at the least, at round 14, would you feel comfortable taking Jameson Williams?
Absolutely. Like, no questions asked. Like,
No questions asked. That's like jailhouse robbery. Now, as we're looking at, you're talking about Amar on St. Brown, right?
uh-huh.
His current ADP, according to Football Calculator, has him going at 8.2. That means he would be the second pick of the eighth round, 85th overall. Now, after hearing that and the projections on his his overall projections, I'm trying to look them up now. Not even talking about his projections. In the second pick of the eighth round, do you feel that's an adequate spot for Marlon St. Brown?
Before the injury to Quintez Cephas,
Mm-hmm.
I would feel like that was a little high. Not significantly high. Like, I would have almost thought he would have been like a ninth rounder. 10th, that's pushing it.
Yeah,
But eighth round, second pick. I mean, I would be comfortable with that if I'm in a 12-team league right now. But I see it going up. I see
definitely.
it going up because, like I said, if he could build that chemistry with Jared Goff a little more, especially with Jared Goff having his second season in that offense, I think it'll be. I don't want to say leaps and bounds, but I think you'll see a significant difference between last year and this year.
Definitely. And it gives you something to think about when it comes to players like that and their potential. And I really hope for good things. And obviously, getting him in the eighth round would be a steal, especially if he produces anywhere close to where he produced last year. You know, and I don't feel he's the only way he'd be in threat of his timeshare is if Kenley Galladay and Jared Goff patch things up, and Jameson Williams comes back, and another wide receiver just overtakes his spot. But I just see too much talent in him for someone to just take too much of his timeshare. Maybe he'll regress in a positive way, and his targets will go down a little bit, but his production will go up. Give him an opportunity to not be the only the only pass catcher on the field.
Right.
If that's a lot of news. We may not have covered everything in the news and notes today, but we tried to cover all the major stuff and let you guys know how it might affect the value of certain players.
Before we go, I do have one player. I do have one player I want you to watch tomorrow in the Hall of Fame game.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't really talk a whole lot about the Jaguars, obviously, other than like some references to players.
Mm-hmm.
But Snoop Connor, I want you to keep an eye on this kid tomorrow because reports out of the Jaguars training camp, he has looked quicker in training camp than at the combine. Apparently, at the combine, he had a 4.59 40 time and has proven to be a reliable target for Trevor Lawrence out of the backfield. So I don't know. I don't see him taking Etienne's spot, but I could see him moving up the depth chart and obviously possibly taking James Robinson's spot. It's a bold.
That is a very bold statement, my brother. You're gonna have to back that up. That might be a board bet right there.
Ooh.
But that is very bold. That is very bold. Hey, you gotta swing for the fences sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, it's training camp. Might as well.
Yes, might as well. All right. Well, if nothing else, we're going to be doing more mock drafts. I'm going to post 3 more sets of mock drafts for non-PPR and PPR leagues. I'm going to run mostly out of ESPN leagues because I like their setup, their format a little bit better. We're also going to come back next week. We're going to get more in depth on ADP and also continue with training cap news and notes. As for me, I'm Bugman J,
I'm Matt.
and we appreciate you guys listening to us tonight. Before we go, I have to continue to plug us. Come on, guys, you have to like, review, subscribe. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on everywhere, Apple Podcasts, everywhere podcasts are found. If anybody is out there, I need you guys to like, rate, and subscribe.
Pretty
You guys
please.
have a good night. Pretty please. You guys have a good night.